hello everybody. It's the Drinker here, and I am joined this evening by two directors, which is kind of an interesting thing in Hollywood now. Like they're co-directors, and they've kind of worked like this throughout their career. These are two guys that I've gotten to know a little bit over the past couple of months, and we were able to arrange a stream to go over like their careers and the things that they're working on at the moment. They started their career in Belgium. They have directed Bad Boys for Life, which is a really fucking good action movie. I think it's great to see the Bad Boys come back after such a long time and actually being good. They have worked on Ms. Marvel for the MCU, and they are currently working on Batgirl for DC. So they're like straddling both sides of the comic book divide. And yeah, it should be an interesting conversation this evening. So I am joined by Adil and Bilall. How's it going, gentlemen?
Oh, so Drinker.
Hey. Yeah, it's good to have you on tonight. Thank you for agreeing to do this. It's very much appreciated.
With pleasure.
It's an honor, bro.
Yeah, nice one, guys. Yeah, I mean, there's kind of a lot to cover, I guess. And for people who don't know you guys too well, it would be interesting to know a little bit how you got started in the movie industry, because obviously, you guys are from Morocco originally, moved over to Belgium, and you got your start there, making movies and stuff, and then came over to Hollywood from there. And I think the movie that kind of got you guys well known and really got you attention was Black, which is like a crime thriller, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So actually, we were born in Belgium. Our parents are from Morocco and came over. And when I was 18, I studied movies in film school in Brussels. And everybody was white, and there was only one Moroccan there, and it was Bilall.
Yeah,
and that's how.
Yeah, so you're Moroccan, and then we formed a gang at film school
right away.
Yeah.
And
the funny thing was our school is like very artistic, so.
Yeah.
Not into Hollywood. Hollywood is like a bad word there.
Yeah,
and we grew up with that. So,
but it was
to be fair, that can only be a good thing if Hollywood's a bad word there. So.
Eventually it turned out like that. But in the beginning years, it was a very artistic auteur cinema kind of thing, and we just didn't fit in because we were like. You like Jerry Bruckheimer films?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and you like Bad Boys? Yeah, and that was how it
worked out well then.
Yeah, exactly. So it was we were always like some kind of the clowns or the outsiders of that art school. But eventually, obviously, we learned a lot about cinema that we didn't know, and it was good to be there. But there was this book called Black about kind of Romeo and Juliet kind of story with the gangs of Brussels as a backdrop, with African Congolese gangs and Moroccan gangs, and you had that center story of this Congolese girl that falls in love with a Moroccan guy, and then it causes like really a conflict. And when we read that book as just teenagers, the first year of film school, we were like, okay, if we get one day the chance to make that book into a movie, it would be our City of God, Cidade de Deus, or our La Haine, or our Mean Streets, and that would be our ticket to Hollywood, and then we could do Bad Boys 3. That was sort of our daydreaming that we were doing the whole time. And that's how another director was actually going to make that movie back then, and we were just students, but we were like, no, we gotta try to steal that project somehow. And but we flunked the first year of film school, so yeah, it was fucked right away. So
gangster movies and like
war movies,
and then the teacher. Even there was one teacher that told me like you will never be a movie maker. So.
Oh shit! Well, you proved him wrong.
I cried.
Yeah. It was
like really a down period.
Yeah. But the thing that we learned is that we started to make movies about our own. Our teacher would say to us, "Why don't you make movies about your own stories?" And we, as Moroccans in Belgium, you didn't have actually stories or movies or TV shows about people like us or stories that or people that we would know, and then step by step we started to make short films about more of our background, which is a bit of more of that street culture and all that. And that started to become better because we made more personal movies, and then we would win prizes with the short films, and that's eventually how we got the chance to make Black, which was truly our ticket to Hollywood, and eventually would bring us to Toronto, and we won a prize there, like a Discovery Award. And that's where people like Jerry Bruckheimer and Will Smith saw the movie, and that is how our whole Hollywood career started, actually.
Damn, it worked out pretty well for you guys. Like,
Yeah, thank God.
Thank God.
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting as well because when I look at Bad Boys for Life, you know, it feels like we really don't get movies like that anymore. Like watching it, I was like, it feels like I've gone back in time by 10, 15 years, you know, back to the days of like Bad Boys 2 or those sort of Michael Bay, Jerry Bruckheimer action movies. You really captured the tone and all of that just perfectly in the cinematography. And I think it was just, it was just a refreshing movie almost at this point, because like so many action movies that I watch now, they're just like toned down. They're very like constrained. They make such heavy use of CGI. They're very PC and very safe. And this one was just it was a nice throwback to a different era in action films, and I've really missed it. You know, it was great to see that.
Yeah, well, it was, for us as kids, when I was in 9, 10, we watched all these movies. We grew up with those movies, the 80s, 90s American action movies, whether it's Die Hard, Lethal Weapon,
all those movies,
Beverly Hills Cop, Bad Boys, and Jerry, the Jerry Bruckheimer kind of movies, or Tony Scott, or the old school Michael Bay.
Yeah.
So these are the movies that made us dream of cinema. So when we wanted to go to film school, well, we were thinking, oh, that's what we gotta do, because that's why we want to make a cinema movie. That's the coolest thing about making a movie, is being able to make this big Hollywood with big actors and cool action scenes and all of that. So that is always what was in the back of our minds, when if one day we would get the chance to do that. Well, obviously, it's gonna have to have that 1980s vibe, kind of action comedy.
Yeah, and also really what's typical about those 90s movies, it's they didn't have the CGI they have now, so it was really all practical. It was real action and all like real grounded, really with the characters. And that is really our approach to Bad Boys for Life, because it was like, we don't want the CGI. We really want to do the action pieces for real.
Yeah.
Though we ended up, our biggest disappointment of the movie is that we were sometimes forced to use, last minute changes. We were forced to use CGI, much to our chagrin, but we use that trauma to to learn from that. But besides that, that's what we always tried to do, to do like a high-net reality. It's obviously it's not reality, but it's still more grounded than a superhero movie or like a Fast and Furious movie.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And from watching my videos, if you've seen any of them, I'm a big advocate of practical effects over CGI. Like it just drives me crazy, because you can do things with CGI that clearly you couldn't do with stuntmen and sets and stuff. And there's a time and a place for it, to be sure. But so many movies just overuse it to the point where nothing's real anymore, and there's no weight behind anything. Yeah. Like seeing pyrotechnics go off, seeing like stuntmen getting thrown through the air or whatever. It's just so much more satisfying, man.
Yeah, and it's more visceral. Like if you see,
I think unconsciously everybody has something. When we see something that CGI, doesn't affect us. When we see something real, then it really has that impact. That is just the way it is.
And making movies in Belgium, you don't have that budget for CGI. It's got to be real. If you don't do it real, you just cannot do it. That's it. And that's why when we go to Hollywood, and when it starts to go too much into green screen territory, and eventually we're all gonna design it, we start to become very nervous, because
I get lost.
Like I can't see shit. What the fuck is happening? You're missing.
There's a moment that Nerdrotic brought to my attention, and it was in like the new Hobbit movies. Well, no, they're not new now, obviously, but it was Ian McKellen playing Gandalf, and he was just surrounded by green screens, whereas 10 years earlier he'd been doing it all on sets, and he had actors to play against and stuff. And he was reduced to tears, because he was like, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. I don't know what I'm supposed to be reacting to. This is just me standing alone in a green room. This isn't acting for me. And it really just, I don't know. It's sad, obviously, but it really hammers home where a lot of movies are now, in just terms of taking the easy option. We'll just use CGI. It's safer. It's easier to set up, and it can all just be done in post-production. And it's a shame.
but even then, it still is a lot of money, a lot of work, and it doesn't necessarily look good. So sometimes it's like robbing Peter to pay Paul. And if you see directors like Christopher Nolan or Denis Villeneuve who use also very much CGI, but use so much practical, it becomes seamless. Or like a movie like 1917, if you use CGI like that, that's the kind of CGI we want to use. Really like enhancement of something real or something practical.
Yeah, I'm very much in favor of like enhancing what's already there, serving as a backdrop, whatever it might be. Because we all recognize there's certain things you can't do with practical effects, and there's limits to it. And it should be there to just take it to that next level, which is great. But I think when I look at Bad Boys for Life as well, like the thing I enjoyed about it is the guys are older now.
Yeah,
they're not useless. Like there's little jokes in there, like how they can't get into the club anymore because they have to get let in by one of their friends because like they're kind of old men now. But like they're still able to kick ass when it counts, and I think that's cool.
Yeah, that's the Bruckheimer. Jerry is really good. You've seen Top Gun, and we saw the video you made. So it's and Top Gun.
I love that movie. It's crossed $1 billion now. It's made $1 billion.
Yeah, and for us it was
for me it saves cinema. Movies like that.
Yeah, we're so happy. We're so proud because for us we were there when they were making Top Gun. I mean, they were we were Jerry was sometimes on our set, but it was also a lot of times on the Top Gun set. So they would go back and forth the whole time. And when we were editing the movie, so there's 2 buildings at Jerry Bruckheimer's office, and we were editing in a little room, and across that building they were editing Top Gun, and we were never allowed to get into the Top Gun building.
We tried. We came inside and we said, "Yo, the bad boys are here." And then we wanted to look in the editing room and the door closed.
Sometimes just saw some shots of airplanes. Wow, yo, it's all real, it's practical, But
man.
Executive of Top Gun would come and see us hanging and see who are these punks staying here. It's like, get the fuck out. And Terry would also never say when Tom Cruise was actually there. And Tom Cruise was really almost every day there that we were editing. But he would always come at the end of the day and say, today we edited the whole day with Tom Cruise. What did you say, JP? And they said, no, nobody can enter there. And then we were joking, like, you know what? If Tom Cruise comes in our building to watch Bad Boys, we're going to say no too, So never did that.
Yeah, I bet.
But it was great to have that too. We had a sense like, something special's happening.
Yeah.
Because we talked to the director and we saw, they're doing everything real. So to be part of that, even of a distance, like, there's an iconic movie being made, that also boosted us actually, and
you see that because it's so practical, they've been working on it for years. And that's the difficult part. Normally you just make a movie in a year, but this one, if you really want to make it real, it takes years. It takes time,
a lot of effort and blood, sweat, and tears, but it pays off. And we hope that this is like the kind of cinema that hopefully we're going to be able to do in the future.
Do you think that could start a little bit of not a backlash, but it might start to swing Hollywood back towards using more practical effects and more stunt work and things in movies when they see the success of films like Top Gun and obviously Bad Boys 3 did really well at the cinema as well. Do you think there's something to be said then for trying to direct Hollywood back towards that style of filmmaking, or are they still going to stick with what's easier and cheaper?
Well, I think it's 50-50, because I think that this movie now, it will be easier, I think, to say, we want to do everything practical, because now we have a great example of a very successful movie, also something that audiences are talking about. They're really talking about how real it is, and that's like that extra thing, especially when now it's so difficult to make people bring to the cinema. It's got to be an event, it's got to be something worthwhile. Like, you got to watch in the cinema that kind of movie and that kind of practical effect. But at the same time, you're still going to have very, very massively successful movies that are full with CGI. So it depends on which producer or studio you end up with. The good thing about the Batman also is like you barely saw the CGI there too, and it was also very practical. So that we hope that these are like the good examples to make a trend, hopefully, because that's really what we want to do.
I very much hope that's the way it goes because, and we can talk about this a little bit more later because I know you've had experiences with Marvel, but they're a classic example of just using CGI to the point where you're just disconnected from the action anymore. Like you can't really get yourself immersed in it because you know that none of it's real. It's just a demo reel, really. But yeah, I mean, I had to ask as well. Like, obviously, working with Will Smith, and he's had a bit of a tough time recently, for various reasons. Was he a cool guy on set to work with? Was he all right, or?
He was the coolest.
He was the coolest. He was our big brother, basically.
Yeah, still is. So it was.
That's.
I mean, for us, working with somebody like that, working with a big star like that, which arguably, I would say even today, is still the most famous actor in the world. I would say even more than before. But it was like, we were so lucky because he's a guy that comes on time, early in the morning. And when we have doubts, because I was 29 when I got the job, so I didn't know fuck all.
Yeah, it was our first Hollywood movie, $100 million. We come from $3 million.
And imagine,
and suddenly you're directing Will Smith.
Yeah, Will Smith,
Jerry Bruckheimer, and Sony. So yeah, it's all the big boys.
It was so surreal because we really just fanboys, I mean, we watch YouTube videos like everybody. We watch your YouTube videos. We just punks who just want to be filmmakers, and all of a sudden we're there and our names are under director, and you're gonna have to direct Will. So Will and Martin were both very friendly, and Will was really like getting all the energy and everybody on the set, so that's
always positive energy.
Yeah, and
there were mornings that he came and he just started singing in front of the crew.
Yeah, and we were stressing. I mean, I had pneumonia the first week just because of stress, and he would comfort us. He would really protect us and be our big brother. And then whenever we would be down or stressed or like, oh, it's gonna fail, we're fakers. We say no.
Also our vision, the type of movie he wanted to make, he supported that really till the end. So that's
so because he is the number one, you would say, on the set, and he's positive and he's motivated. That sort of caused that everybody was positive and everybody was motivated, because you don't have no excuse. I mean, the star is not like that. So why are you gonna be like that? And that was a very rewarding, fulfilling experience for us. So we can only say, I mean, he's very passionate, he's very intense, like Tom Cruise is as well, because otherwise you don't make a movie like that. He's a guy that, if you meet him, he makes you comfortable. It's like as if you don't feel
like you know him for your whole life.
You don't have that feeling, oh, he's a big star. It's just like, okay, nice, you can talk to him, and that's really great. And we hope that all the other stars that we work with is always going to be like that.
Yeah. No, I mean, obviously that's kind of what you always want. Guys that you can talk to and are going to be approachable to work with and receptive to ideas, I suppose, because like I guess movie stars have that reputation of just being complete prima donnas, and like they're not gonna take like notes from people, especially like directors who are kind of just starting out like you were. So it's good that he was like much easier to work with,
Yeah, he would predict us, I mean, he would. Sometimes there was an idea that we had, and I mean, we would pitch it to the studio. They would not 100% go for it because sometimes it's an expensive idea. And then Will would say, you know what? I'm just gonna say it's my idea, so you can do it.
Yeah, I like that.
That was a bit what.
Or he said, I'm only gonna do what Adil and Bilall says.
Yeah.
So and then all of us we have that power.
Yeah, which was sometimes overwhelming, because then he was the studio talking to us like, okay, yeah, so do you really want to do this?
And like, is there potential for Bad Boys 4 to happen? Could that be a thing we see in the future?
Yeah, we hope. I mean,
inshallah, if the opportunity is there.
Yeah, we're game. I mean, because obviously when you make a movie like that, same for Batgirl, it's like, oh, what are we gonna do if we make the sequel of that? All of the extravagant ideas that we will love to do that we could not do in Bad Boys. We still want to, have the chance to do them. Go just bigger and crazier. And when you watch a movie, I mean, we just watched the trailer of Mission Impossible. It's like, oh man, that looks just so cool. So yeah, we'd love to get the opportunity to do that, and we're game for that.
Nice one. Well, hopefully it happens. I mean, yeah, it's weird that they left it for so long, like such a long gap between Bad Boys 2 and 3,
Yeah, I mean, we were film students when they were talking about Bad Boys
Yeah.
3. That's why we were like, hey, if they don't make it, we're gonna make it.
Yeah, as a joke. And then the day we were in front of Jerry Bruckheimer, we said, "Yo, we want to make Bad Boys," and he said, "Sorry, there's already a director on it."
It's not available. So that's
And then it's crazy that years later it
well,
came.
actually in 2017, the director left the project, so he was available. And in 2017, they sent us the script of Bad Boys for Life, and we were like, "Oh my God, it's really happening! We got the script in our mailbox, and we looked at it and read the script right away. It was unbelievable because Will was like saying, why don't you give it to the boys?
Yeah.
And then we read it, and but we were actually going to make a Belgian movie then, a month later after we got the script. It was called Gangsta, and at that moment we were like,
And everybody was prepping on the movie. So
Yeah,
the
so-
whole crew, the actors.
yeah, in Dutch it's called Patser, and it was ready to go. And,
Yeah.
and then we just had to say to Will and Jerry Bruckheimer and Sony, we're not gonna make the movie. We're not available, and we turned down Bad Boys for
That's
Life.
maybe the most difficult no I ever said in my life.
But we said
no to
yeah, and it was
the
just,
legends.
it was just game over then. So we turned down Bad Boys for Life to make a Belgian movie.
Damn.
Yeah, our agents and managers were like, "What are you doing in Belgium?
Are you out of your mind? Like, and how much are you getting paid?" And it's Belgium. It's not like that. It's just and it was unbelievable. We were like saying we cannot believe that we're gonna say no to Bad Boys 3. And but then Will was going to do Aladdin, and they hired another director, and that director, he then left the project because he didn't want to wait. And then in 2018, the project came back to us, and I was like, yeah, we're gonna do it. No
So
doubt.
it was destiny, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that worked out pretty well, I would say. You got to do your movie and then come back and do Bad Boys 3 later. So hey, perfect.
It was a good training also to do it. So
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I know we were.
You have to see Gangster, our Belgian movie. That's Patser. It's the Bad Boys in Belgium. So that's kind of the
Oh, nice.
good training.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's always interesting to see like directors' earlier work because you can see the hallmarks of their style like right back then, and it almost becomes not hidden over time, but like more subtle. But like when you go back to their earlier stuff, you really see it, and yeah, it'd be interesting to see that from you guys and see how your styles evolved over time. Yeah, I'll need to have a look.
Yeah,
and watch Black as well because it'd be interesting to see with that. That Romeo and Juliet kind of story is just like one of those classic, literature tropes. It can be done so many different ways. So it's a really like universal kind of story. So yeah, that'd be interesting.
We always try to do, even though it's really stories of Brussels or Belgium or something. Growing up with Hollywood movies, we always try to tell that story that's very specific. Something also, a lot of times is people of Moroccan origin or ethnic origin, but at the same time appeal to a broad audience. I think that's why I like City of God. It's a Brazilian favela movie, but it was like a universal appeal.
Yeah.
And
to talk about, we love to make movies in Hollywood, but we also love to make smaller movies with a small budget where you can take a lot of risks. You could go crazy. You might it's not going to work. But in Hollywood, if you have like a $100 million movie, it's better that you bring the money back.
Yeah, you cannot risk too much as in Belgium.
So, no, I mean, I agree. And this is one of the things I was hoping might come out of the pandemic is that budgets might get lowered and it would allow studios to, say, well, okay, we're going to spend just 50 million on this movie instead of 200 million. So we could be a bit more creative with it. We can take a few more risks because there's not so much on the line. Doesn't seem to have happened. We've kind of gone back to business as usual. But I know like you guys were good enough to show me like a sample of Rebel. That's your film that's not out yet, but I thought it was really good. I really liked it. I thought it was visually. I thought it was great. Like I liked some of the stuff you did in it. I thought the story that it told was really interesting. And I'm trying to be careful about what I say because I don't want to give away stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, we already did some interviews because it was in Cannes, so you can say a little bit.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So what the subject matter is and all that. So.
Yeah. I mean, it deals with interesting subject matter of like how does a person end up getting radicalized? How do they go down that path? And like how do their families react to it? And what what drives them to that. And I think it makes for a really interesting story. And like I say, visually some of the sort of sequences that you did were the guys in the nightclub, and it kind of verges into like war scenes and stuff, and it's all just like continuous takes. It's all very fluid. It's a really interesting way of presenting it, so I really liked it. But yeah, maybe one day I can get a chance to review it once it's out, and
thank you.
Past that.
A lot from you. Yeah, thank you very much. But that's a movie that it was very personal, a movie that we could never make in Hollywood. It was just we went all the way for that. It's our most personal movie. It's also a most experimental movie, I would say, and then we just tried a bunch of stuff, and that's why in Cannes Film Festival, when he was there, he got like 12-minute standing ovation, and everybody was like thrilled by it because it was something a bit different. And that's why it's important for us to come back to Belgium, where we can just take risks, something that we could never do not on that scale, at least in Hollywood for the moment.
I mean, hopefully you've got that balance then, when you can do the big budget movies that are obviously going to get you lots of attention, but then you can also do these smaller ones where you can be a bit more experimental and a bit creative. I remember Mo and I were talking with Jason Fleming, who's an actor over in the UK. He's quite a well-known British actor, but he did things like Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels and stuff like that, like all these gangster movies and stuff. But done a lot of Hollywood stuff as well. But he divides his time between those two different kinds of projects, where he'll come over to the States, do a big Hollywood movie to pay the bills, essentially, and then he'll come back to the UK and he'll just do these little small movies. I think is it called Boiling Point, where it's all done as one continuous take throughout the entire film. It's like a kitchen in a big London restaurant where it's like hectic, and there's all kind of like subplots going on. But yeah, just interesting stuff like that doesn't make him lots of money, but it's just a real challenge as an actor. And I like that idea of being able to do those two different sides of your career,
Yeah, that's the intention. We learn from both, but
it's also we make every choice that we make is a personal connection, even if it's Hollywood or like Europe or smaller movies. It's always something personal to us. We will never like go make a movie just for money. So that's one of the approaches.
Because there's still a lot of effort that you put in it, but it's true that in Hollywood, sometimes you're gonna have to make more safe choices because it has a lot of consequences. Because you gotta fight for every choice. You cannot just say, okay, I'm gonna do this. You gotta pick your battles. That's what the system is. And obviously you can make big action sequences and big explosions and crazy shit, which you cannot really necessarily do in Belgium. But at the same time, in Belgium, as long as the budget allows it, you have total creative freedom, which is so priceless, and makes sure that you don't fall into a generic way of filmmaking.
Yeah. Speaking of which, Marvel. No, I mean, yeah, there's a segue for you. No, I mean, I have to ask, obviously, because I know you guys were involved with Ms. Marvel. You directed I think the first and the last episode of that show.
Yeah.
So, I mean, generally speaking, like, what was your experience like working on that and trying to bring like your creative vision to something that was very much within the Marvel system?
Yeah. Well, you come into the MCU and it's a big machine. That's like, it's as if you come into a multiverse of madness, I would say. And I mean, for us, when we were editing Bad Boys for Life, we were like, okay, what's the next thing? And it's got to be Marvel, because it's the biggest and
the biggest in the biz.
Yeah, so it was like we have to be part of that, and we were joking around saying, but if you're gonna be part of that, it's gonna have to be a Muslim character. Just not knowing that they actually existed, and that's how we got to know this character of Miss Marvel, which we didn't know the comics, but by reading the comics, we have to say that even though it was MCU and it's Marvel, they felt a connection. I mean, for us, it was like when we were 15 years old and Muslim in Belgium, in schools that were predominantly white, but also, in our home as Muslims, the Muslim culture, the Moroccan culture, the Belgian culture, like not knowing what our places are, trying to be cool, trying to find your identity. That we felt that vibe as we were reading that character of Kamala Khan. So we were like, okay, there's something we could do with that, there is this connection. We can be part of that world, and but yeah, at the same time, it's just part of that larger. There's so many connections with other movies and other shows that we don't know about, and they will never tell you. So you got to maneuver inside that. You have that structure, and whenever you want to do your own thing, and in our case, our own thing was that visual style. Well, yeah, you gotta come up with a lot of arguments. So that's why, when we got that project, we were like, okay, how do we make it like an A and B thing? How do we still have our own personality in that story? And that was just like going all the way for the comic book vibe, for the animation, for fantasy sequences, trying to find a way to translate that world and try to have a lot of visual vibrancy. If you're gonna go into that comic book thing, just have a lot of fun with it, and just make it phlegmatic, and play with all the tools you can get, because it's still a Marvel budget, so might as well just go for the ride. But it was not just easy to convince them at first, because visually, especially if you see the pilot and obviously the other episodes, but it's different than the other MCU shows. So that's how we had our imprints on that story, I would say.
I think it's it was a frustrating one.
You can say that you don't like it, no problem, bro.
Yeah, I mean, I watched it with Az, right? We did a watch through of episode 1, because I haven't seen the rest of it yet, so I don't know about that. But the thing that jumped out at us, and we said this when we did our watch through, is like visually looks really good. Like I loved all the things, like when they're sending text messages, they start appearing on like neon signs in the like behind the characters and stuff, like, and it's integrated into the background. And that's, it's cool. It's a nice little visual, motif for doing it. The actress that was playing Kamala Khan, she came across really nice. I think she's got a real kind of just natural kind of chemistry to her. The problem was just the script is really fucking slow. It's just really, there was nothing going on for like the first 20-30 minutes easily. And I was saying to Az as we were watching it, it's frustrating because I feel like I could condense all of this down to about 10 minutes, if that. It was just really weird how slow it was. And I don't know, like, obviously I know you guys had no real input into the script. You just have to direct what's there. But that was the annoying part of the show. And it just kind of felt like I didn't have much to latch onto with her as a character, because I felt like there was nothing to her in that first episode. Like she just wanted to cosplay. She just wanted to go to a convention. I think maybe if she'd been bullied at school or something like that, okay, there's something there. But yeah, I don't know. It felt like something was missing, like script wise, story wise. I don't know if you saw that or if it kind of came to you or whatever.
Well, we understand we obviously understand the criticism. I think that it's a bit of thing that we have with a lot of pilots. We got a lot of scripts of pilots, and obviously we also did this pilot of Snowfall. And the tricky thing with a pilot is that you need to introduce characters. That's always a bit difficult. And in our case, as we got the script, if you do it simplistically, we just, okay, where's the superpowers? That's how you check it out. And in the concept that they wanted to do is they wanted to wait a longer for the superpowers to be introduced, because obviously there's other episodes where the story gets moving and all of that. So it's obviously it's a challenge, I would say, because you don't have your superpowers in the first 5 minutes.
It's also like a total new superhero. You don't know anything about her, her world. So all those things need to be introduced, and then you have to see the family. You have to like learn her, and that's how the build up of this first episode is difficult if you don't have the powers immediately.
So and that was what the concept they wanted to go for, which we understand, and that's why we were like saying, okay, we're gonna go for that, but then you gotta allow us to play with all the tools we can get, to really to go into that style and to go into that flow and to go with the animation ideas and text messages, so that it's really vibrant, so that you get the audience, and especially a younger audience in that case, because it's for a way younger audience than what we're used to.
It's not Bad Boys for Life.
It's less violent. So it's really to get these young audience to get into the head of Kamala Khan, into that character, into that world, and introduce. It's a lot of introductions. You're right, but I think that if you look at that character at Kamala Khan, the way that Iman Vellani plays it, she's a very charming person, and yes, she has this quirky world and quirky character. And I think that a lot of people, or in that case, the target audience that watches that, they recognize themselves in her, and they just want to see that slice of life vibe without having already the plot. And if you're more like in your case, like looking for the plot, then it's gonna take a while. But then it's like after 30 minutes, then you really have boom, that's what happens. And then as the episodes progress, then you have really like the villains and the clear antagonist and a clear path of where the story is going. So that's a bit what the vibe is of the show.
I think probably what I was looking for was just a little bit of probably suffering's not the right word, but what you tend to get with these superhero characters is, in order to become whoever they are, like Iron Man or the Incredible Hulk or whatever, they have to lose something in the process. It's like a trade-off. Tony, to become Iron Man, he's like terminally injured, and he's got to use this thing to keep him alive. Bruce Banner has got to lose his humanity, and he can never live a normal life now in order to become the Hulk. But I think with that first episode with Kamala Khan, she just kind of puts on the bracelets and just gets the powers, and like there's not really a loss, there's not really a trade-off there, and I guess that's what I was kind of looking for. And maybe it's just a result of, like you say, it's set for a younger audience, and they didn't want to put those kind of heavy themes into it.
You have to see the other episodes, because this is just a start. The first episode is a start, but she has to discover and understand what this power is,
grow
and what their responsibilities. So she will will get to a point where she has to make a choice or become a superhero. So those things are there, but it takes that's the beauty of making episodes. You can take more of your time.
And for us, it's like the fundamental story of the first episode. If you just break it down to the simple thing, is just she wants to go to that convention. She's a teenage girl. She wants to cosplay. She wants to go there. And it's not that simple. And her mom and dad are not game for that. And it's also that's just the story of that one episode, and that's not the same thing as the bigger superhero story that's the overarching thing of the whole season. That's a bit what the concept was of the pilot.
It's interesting as well, from like such a humble beginning. Like this is going to ultimately take her to be in Captain Marvel 2. She is going to be the co-lead of that. It's going to be the Marvels now. So like she's going to be working opposite probably the physically most powerful character in the MCU. So that's a hell of a jump now to go from this to there.
But we don't know anything about the Marvels. So that was during the making of Marvel. We were asking the whole time to Kevin Feige and other producers. So what was happening? No, you don't know anything. Nothing.
Yeah.
We asked questions about Spider-Man,
basically
about Doctor Strange, and they would not say anything. They will only say, if there's a problem, we'll let you know. But it was like, just focus on that, and that's
in that Miss Marvel world.
But the thing is that I mean when I see, like, if you don't particularly like the pilot, or you have criticism of it, what you say is that you like Iman Vellani, and I think that across the board everybody actually likes that actress, and I think that's
the actress is fine. Like I think she does a perfectly good job. Like and like I say, visually, directorially, that first episode perfectly fine, great. The criticisms were just with the script, really.
Totally. it's I mean, you're a writer yourself, and I mean, we watch your your videos because I mean, we learn a lot from watching YouTube videos and your channel. You mentioned Neurotic, we watch them too, but we watch also Filmento, if you know that that YouTube channel, and a couple of film channels like that are very. Brown Table is also one that we watch. So you know, we
learn a lot
because we are fans of YouTube, and we watch all of your videos and we analyze, and we don't agree necessarily with everything. I mean, sometimes we were like, I like that, or I didn't like that, and we differ. But I think it's really interesting to see that point of view, and which makes you think, and which hopefully can help us to just make better thing and think about, on a story level, how to do better stuff. But we are very excited to see what Iman Vellani as this character of Ms. Marvel is going to become, because I think there's a lot of potential and opportunity for her to make even more interesting stuff. So I hope that she's gonna be a very important part of the show, because the actress is she's
really the heart of the show,
and she does it in a and she's just the biggest MCU fan there is. Iron Man is her favorite movie, and she's so smart, and she had really very good remarks also on the script and the story. So I think that hopefully she will have to get more to say in the future of her character, at least.
No, I mean, like I say, I didn't really have any critiques for her. I think she was good in the role, and I hope I hope she finds a lot of success doing this, because for any actor, I suppose, like particularly a young one that's just up and coming, like getting a role in an MCU movie, that is like your ticket to fame and success, really. Like that's just you're part of the system. You're part of that that Marvel. I guess just a machine that just churns out big high earning movies, and that's what it becomes. But I think one of the things that I've noticed, and that a lot of other people have pointed out, like other content creators, is they are producing just so much now. It used to be 1 or 2 movies a year. Now it's like 3-4 movies a year, plus who knows how many TV shows simultaneously. It is so much content. I just wonder how they keep track of it all. I wonder how they maintain that level of understanding of what's going on, and like quality control and stuff. Like, I mean, did you get that? Did you get a real sense of right, they're really taking note of what we're doing here, or did they just let you do your own thing? To some extent, anyway.
Well, during the shoot,
I think they were doing 30 projects in production while we were shooting. That's massive.
Yeah,
like in every studio they were shooting a show. So that's unbelievable. It's but that, of course, like if you're busy with so many shows, we had the liberty to do stuff. Also, there was also trust in we can do some. I mean, the shooting days, there was not a lot of
I would
they
say
are more in the post-production that becomes.
It was mostly prep production and post-production, then they're very present. But during the shoot itself, it was just we do whatever we want. So it was a real fun shoot, and that's why it was so playful. It was us and Rob, our Belgian TP, who also did Bad Boys for Life and Belgian movies. It was just having fun, because we wanted to make this kind of homage to all the American high school movies and shows we saw, and it was just as if we were really in an American high school, we as students. And you grew up in Scotland, so I would say the schools are the same as ours in Belgium, but so high schools are very exotic.
It's funny, like the high school that I saw in Ms. Marvel, that does not translate to what Scottish high schools are like.
Not Belgian.
It's much harsher.
that guidance teacher that she had, he would not last 5 minutes in my high school, man.
We understand. Like, the European high schools are quite different, but
For us, it's every time after school I saw Saved by the Bell or Boy Meets World, all these American high school, and we were really like, we gotta go for that style,
But no, I mean, it's I mean, I guess there's 3 more episodes to go, I think, that have still to come out. So I guess see how it ends. So you guys directed the finale as well. So you first and the last episode.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll very eager to see what people will think of that. There's a lot of CGI in it. Yeah.
But
I mean,
that was the visual effects team of Marvel, so that's that's the machine. And you cannot, some things you cannot do practical.
No, sometimes some things. I mean, even though we tried, there's just a certain level where you cannot do it for reals anymore. So, but yeah, I mean,
But there is some fun action.
Yeah, some fun stuff. I think you will recognize some of our style in that last episode, and yeah, I mean, we tried something. It's our humble contribution to the MCU, and we hope that the fans will appreciate it, and especially the younger fans. And but I mean, for us, it's also an homage to the fandom. I mean, she's Kamala Khan, like Iman Vellani, is just the biggest Marvel fan there is, and for us, the fandom. Without the fandom, you don't have any Marvel show, any Marvel movies, any hero. We do that for them, same way that we do Batgirl. So I think that it's an homage. You gotta respect the fandom. You gotta try to give what they want. You gotta please them, and it's for us, it's an honor to be able to do something for that audience, whether it's Marvel or DC.
Yeah, I was going to say as well, like you guys are obviously in this position where you're working for both companies, really. Like you've got Ms. Marvel for the MCU, but then you're also doing Batgirl for the DCEU. And this is where it all gets really confusing, because where does this fit in to the continuity of DC? Because it's kind of all over the place. You've got the Snyderverse, you've got the DCEU that they've tried to move on beyond that. Then you've got these standalone movies like Joker and the Batman and stuff. Where is this in all of that?
Well, when we ask the same question, they would just say a little bit like what Marvel would say. Don't worry about it.
Right.
So I mean, we can say what it's not part of. So we assume it is not part of the Batman of Matt Reeves, and it's not part of the Joker of Todd Phillips. So, but we can assume with the elements that we have, because you have Keaton and you have J.K. Somehow
there's going to be a blend.
There's going to have to be a blend between Snyder and Burton. That's the kind of vibe that there is. It's also not part of the Nolan verse, from what we understand. So that's but it's not as if, I mean, they got a big plan, but same as with Marvel. It's just, you got this, you got these actors, you focus on that, and that's that. So we'll have to discover it like the rest. But yeah, I mean, we try to have the same thing, homages to all of these movies. There are a lot of elements of all, and we big Batman fans and DC fans, and you're gonna have some Nolan homage, some Matt Reeves, some Snyder, some Burton vibes in it. Hopefully that in a remix makes like an A&B hip hop remix of all of that.
I mean, I think the Burton influence is the thing that's really interesting for a lot of people. This idea of Michael Keaton coming back to this role after 30 years. It's incredible that he was willing to do it. It's great that they were able to get him back. And man, I'm curious to see what they're going to do with him, what he's going to be in it. Because I'll be honest, like, we've seen this a lot in franchises, whether it's Star Wars or whatever, like where they'll bring back this hero from like previous generations, and he's just become kind of shit. Like, he's old and he's kind of useless now, and he's just there to get replaced. And that's the thing that really pisses off fans when they see stuff like that. And I'm really keeping my fingers crossed that that's not what's going to happen to Michael Keaton's Batman here. That he's still going to get treated as with respect, and that he's still able to do his thing, even though he's older now.
But we can say that without giving too much away, or because otherwise Warner Bros will be super. It's like you got to be careful with Marvel and DC. So But it's me as a kid, I was 5 years old when I watched for the first time Batman, which was it was on a VHS. I never watched a superhero movie before. It was in Belgium, and I remember standing, watching the movie, being fascinated for the first time, reading names of people, like reading Michael Keaton, reading Tim Burton, Danny Elfman, composer, and just being mesmerized by Batman and being fan of comic books and wanting to see everything that has to do with Batman, buying toys and just also watching everything with Michael Keaton, because whenever I would see Michael Keaton in a movie, it's Batman. and that's my Batman. That's my very first Batman. It's my childhood dream. Same for you. You know, it's
I saw Batman at my uncle's house. He had like also a VHS tape. There was Superman, there was Batman. So I watched Batman, and it had, you know, from then on, I was like always walking around with a cape, you know, just trying to be Batman, lower voice.
Yeah, same thing. You know, I had like a dark blue jacket with a cap, and I'm Batman. It was always.
I remember I was fighting in the store with my father to buy a Batmobile. So
I played with the same Batmobile.
So really, it's true love. You know, it's really. The impact in my life is gigantic.
Yeah, and also watching all the Tim Burton movies, obviously, because that made us or me a Tim Burton fan.
I know when I was young and I saw that, I was so scared every time I saw that movie. The atmosphere, the darkness.
And Batman Returns for me was as a kid the best Batman movie ever made. And obviously you have the animated series, which was also in that Burton vibe. But for me, I always dreamed as a teenager that one day there would be another movie like the Batman Returns movie, and when we got the opportunity to actually make a movie with Michael Keaton as Batman, it was as if we were walking into Batman Returns and fulfilling this childhood or teenage dream, and
child even came out of me,
and it's just. That's just the OG. He's just the man. Is so cool, and I just cannot. It's difficult to find words to describe that effect, that atmosphere, and I hope that the fans watching this and all that, and you, that if you see the love that we have for Batman, that at least on that level, everybody will be reassured.
Hopefully, yeah. I mean, it's obviously you guys have got a lot of respect for the character, so that bodes well. But hopefully he gets treated well in the script. And
we'll fight for it. We'll fight for it to show the respect of the OG Batman.
No, that's awesome, guys. And like I say, I think this is, I guess it's part of a larger issue with fandoms butting heads with studios, where they kind of feel like older generations of characters, the things that they grew up with are getting changed or disrespected just in order to push the new ones. You know, I've talked about it a great deal in my videos, and it's just this source of endless antagonism amongst fan bases, amongst the whole entertainment industry now. I don't know, man. Like I've yet to come up with a solution to bring this to an end, but I always assumed that eventually money would play into it and studios would eventually cave. They would basically say, we can't keep doing this because ultimately it ends up financially shit for us. We lose money.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, do you see something like that changing in future? I mean, the fact that you guys are here talking to me is great to begin with, because, just having that dialogue between, people like me or Nerdrotic or whoever, and guys who are actually working on these movies is a good thing, because, ultimately we're in a position where we can be advocates a little bit for what fans are feeling. But do you think this sort of thing is going to change eventually, or is it just the problem that can't really be solved?
Well, I think that we on our level, small, humble level, we can only hope that doing this, having a conversation, like I said, we watch your YouTube channel and we don't necessarily agree with everything you say or every review, but I mean, you're a lot of times very funny, so we watch it, but we watch very different. We watch a lot of other YouTubers that you would not like or agree with, but we watch the broad spectrum of that, and we want to listen to the fans. I think that's it's for us. It's also new to get into the world. We made Bad Boys, and so we were not really into that big fandom base. But once we started to do Marvel and DC, a new world opened itself to us. It was like, okay, there are a lot of people. I mean, we made a joke. We made a joke when the costume reveal of Batgirl was, was put on the internet, and it was I mean, there were a lot of good comments, but there were also some hate, and there was a meme that I posted. Both of us we posted actually. It was so the slap meme of Batman. It was like, somebody said like Robin would say, "It looks like cosplay." Shut the fuck up and wait till the film comes out or something like that. I posted it and Bilal posted it like 30 seconds after me, but I got the whole hate.
Got the whole heat.
It was like, oh shit! It was as if the eye of Sauron was all the way on us. Oh, but it was just a joke. I mean, it's not like so. It was, it was very funny to see that. Whoa, okay, that it's something different than making another kind of movie or show.
Yeah,
a Marvel show or a Batgirl or a DC show. So you got to take into account that people are very passionate about it.
Yeah.
And yes, of course, some people will be toxic and negative and all that, but that's just like in the real population. It will be in our opinion, maybe we're naive, but we believe it's just a small percentage of them. The vast majority, they care, they're passionate about it, and when they're angry, it's for a reason, and you got it's good to listen, and it's good to listen, and then you can still make your own decisions. You cannot always follow. I mean, like when everybody was saying about the costumes of Batgirl, like it should be this, should be that, all of a sudden we're like, well, maybe we should do something with a costume, who knows? Yeah. So it starts, you think about it because they bring so much.
And sometimes it's very creative, super inspiring for us also, to hear all these comments.
There are a lot of ideas coming out of it. And somehow you can take it as negative, but you can also take it as something positive and say like, nice. It's, give us those ideas. We'll analyze and discuss them and all of that. And I think that we can only hope that it's not going to be perfect, and we who knows, maybe we're never going to make another Marvel show or DC show after that. And if that's the case, thank God, alhamdulillah, where we say we've been grateful to be part of that for just that small amount of moment. But we hope that by doing that, talking to you, to listening to the fans, showing the love to the fans, all the kind of fans, all of them, that we can lower the temperature and just make stuff that the mass audience loves it, because at the end of the day, we really want to make something. Whatever, Miss Marvel, it's this Pakistani Muslim American girl, but we want that character to be appealing to everybody, to universally, that it doesn't matter. You don't have to be a Pakistani American girl to love that character. It can be everybody. Like we all love this young guy from Queens, well, and everybody can love the young girl from Jersey, and that's what we try to do, hopefully.
I think, there's always going to be a sort of universality to characters like this, where everyone can identify with being the kid who doesn't quite fit in, or a lot of people can, because everyone's gone through times like that at school where they feel like they're just different from everyone else, and that's something that you can always play off, and so that's going to work well. I think a lot of the time it just comes with the implementation, and when you've got characters of different backgrounds, it's like how subtly can you work that into the story, and how effectively does it become just part of the overall story, rather than just making a big song and dance about like, wow, this is the first black character that's done this on the first full moon of September or whatever. Always trying to find that first in order to just make some kind of point. For a lot of fans, that doesn't resonate. But when it's just there's something honest about the character, that's when they identify with them.
Yeah,
and it doesn't. It can be anything. And like I say, if it's a Pakistani Muslim girl who doesn't really have anyone else like that around her and feels a bit out of place, anyone can identify with that. They don't have to be Muslim to feel that same sense of displacement. And I hopefully, the key for me is just to not make it just about tokenism or whatever.
Same for us.
Absolutely.
Because our movies in Belgium, they were mostly, the characters were people of Moroccan origin like us, and in Belgium, movies were really white, still are. There was like in America, you still had the you still have diversity. I had diversity, but back then when we started to make movies, there was nothing, really, absolutely nothing. So we had to do that. But at the same time, it was just our stories, and we had the responsibility to make the movies appealing to the masses, because if it doesn't work, or if nobody's gonna watch them, then it's also game over. Then you're gonna have a perfect argument like, look, nobody wants to see stories like that. No, we had to make these movies compelling and interesting and good, even though the characters were diverse. Like this is we made one movie that our very first movie, which we did with small budget. If you want to see it, it's a total failure. But the problem of that movie was that it was only about the message.
The message, yeah.
That was,
I need a booming, echoing voice for this one.
And that movie, it's called Image. And I take full responsibility, because Bilal, he was, he felt like, I don't know if the script's that great, but I said, no, it's great because the message is great. And even though the movie was a success commercially, it's still our worst movie we've ever made, because we forgot to make a good movie. That was the thing. We forgot that actually it's about characters and scripts, and it's not because what you say, what the story, what the messages of the movie is good, that automatically the movie's gonna be good.
Just even as that just we had the opportunity to make a movie, so we were just happy making a movie. At the same time, just let's make a Hollywood shot. That was our mind state the whole time with making this movie, and that was the biggest mistakes. But we learned a lot, and then those mistakes made us make Black more real and really good, and all about the character,
and more focused on the story. And I think that without that failure, we would never have learned. So maybe it's good that our biggest failure was our very first movie.
But I mean, as long as you learn from it and move on, then it's always going to be useful. And I guess that's my criticism of Hollywood in general, is that they don't seem to be learning. They prioritize the message in so many of their movies now, and you end up with shit films, and they don't seem to be learning from it very quickly. And it's frustrating, because what's happening is so many franchises that people had a real attachment to, whether it's Star Trek, Star Wars, even the MCU, they're kind of getting sacrificed in order to just push political messaging, and it's really crap for the audience, because they just want to be entertained. That's why I brought up the example of Top Gun earlier, because it's made $1 billion, and it's a movie that essentially has no politics. It's just there to tell a fun story and have a bit of escapism, and it's got a lot of jets shooting things down, and it's great fun.
But I think that to that note, I think that the movies that because you saw Rebel, and you could argue that Rebel actually has a very political.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think the difference is say that the movie is specifically about we're going to tell a story of how a person gets radicalized to join ISIS. That's the whole crux of the movie, and so it's going to be political, and it's going to have all kinds of ideas that it's going to have to grapple with.
Exactly. Yeah.
If say it's just a superhero movie about someone fighting to save the world or whatever, I don't necessarily want those kind of politics put into that movie. It has to be appropriate to whatever film it's in. And I think this is the frustration for a lot of people, where they take a fairly generic story. It could be Star Wars, it could be whatever, that's meant to be about escapism, and they try to put those present day themes and ideas into it where it doesn't really work. I think that's where Hollywood's going wrong so often.
Yeah. The thing is, it depends on certain movies. Certain movies that we believe that they do it in a very subtle way, because you could argue like every movie has somehow a political aspect to it without knowing it. So it just depends. But I think that our responsibility as filmmakers, whether it's a commercial movie or a more artistic or auteur cinema, is always to try to tell a good story, directed well, have great performances, have great scenes and all of that. Just the pure nature of cinema, that it's really that's what the main responsibility of us, we believe, is as directors. And if something else is gonna be more important than that, then we feel from our experience with our first movie that we forget about making a cinema movie or making a movie. We're trying to do something else, and usually it's always in our case, always a kind of failure.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, hopefully going forward, you're able to find that balance, I guess, and just being able to keep that focus on just telling that good story,
Yeah, we
Yeah,
hope.
it's,
Difficult to tell great stories nowadays.
I know, and this is the thing. Like, with so much in Hollywood now, and just storytelling in general, there's always that argument that, man, every story's been told. You've kind of done every possible variation of every idea, and really we're just recycling stuff. I don't agree with that, but I think we've fallen into the trap of just making remakes because they are easy. There's a lot of films now that are essentially just either remakes or soft reboots of stuff. Again, that kind of thing is a real bugbear for me, because whenever you remake something, you're kind of putting forward that idea that you're doing it better. You're improving on what came before. Because why else would you remake something unless you thought you could do better?
Yeah.
And we've discovered a lot of the time they can't, because you take something like Ghostbusters, it's a classic sort of 80s movie, very well done, very smart actually in terms of screenplay. They remake it in 2016. Not so much, and we're littered with examples of that kind of thing. And I don't know if it's a financial model. Is it easy to say, right, we're going to take this thing that's well known, we're going to slap that name on whatever it is we're making now, and we're going to just recycle the same basic story. We'll make a few little changes, modern sort of CGI put into it, and away we go. We've got ourselves a movie. Is that? I mean, I know you guys haven't made something like that, but I don't know if that's the kind of
I understand. Like, we need, if there is a remake, for me, it's if there is a right of existence, like it has a story to tell, I don't mind it if it's a remake. If it really has that right,
the added value.
And yeah, but you're right. Having more original projects, something new that is very exciting, is something we really want to have more. But it's still a money business where everything has to, if you spend the money has to come back. That's also the reality of making movies. So those things are definitely, I think, one of the reasons that why this is people play more safely.
I mean, it's hard. I mean, even though we did a sequel to a movie, it was Bad Boys. We're doing now Batgirl, which is, it's not really a sequel, but it's in that kind of universe. But it's just, it's difficult now to come with something 100% original. That's and for us, a remake, I mean, if we had multiple proposals for remake, and we always said no, because it was like, usually the movie, which was the original one, was so great, it was like, no, sorry, but that's, you gotta leave untouchable, leave it as it is. But we hope that maybe one day we can come with something truly original, that's cool, like a little bit what Christopher Nolan does, and it's never been seen before. It's not based on something that exists. It's not based on some IP. It's just like the same way that the first Star Wars was made. It was not based on anything. It just came out, and nowadays it seems as if it's barely possible to do something like that. And that's
at the same time, cinema is suffering.
It's
the theater is
it's difficult.
It's difficult. You need people to watch movies.
You need, and it's like almost as if your movie needs to be really an event. It needs to be an event that everybody needs to go to the theater and talk about it. And, oh, did you see that movie? You gotta tell. I mean, like Everything Everywhere All at Once. That's the movie. Everybody's gotta go to this movie theater and talk about it. If you missed out if you had not seen it. But if you don't do a movie like that with that event, then it's gonna be really hard, and then people are always gonna wanted to play it. The studios, I would say, to play it safe and just do a sequel or do an existing IP, etc.
This is the problem. It's that Everything Everywhere All at Once, I gave that a Drinker Recommends. I thought it was a fantastic film, but it didn't help. Like, the movie didn't make a huge amount of money. Same with The Northman. Like, I thought that was a great film. Didn't do great at the cinema because it's it's not a superhero film, I suppose, and that's kind of the problem of where we're at. Even something like Dune, I know it's based on a book, and obviously it's been adapted before, but again, like that was touch and go whether that would get its sequel, because it did pretty well. It did pretty well, like financially, but I don't think it did fantastic numbers.
Well, it did good numbers. I mean, obviously, it was also pandemic and streaming and all of that at the same time. But he did good enough numbers to warrant a great sequel, and it won 6 Oscars or something. So, but I think that these kind of movies and directors, well, we need more of those things, with singular voices, because I mean, if you think about the 90s, you got all kind of movies you would see in a movie theater. It was all different kind of things.
But cinema was booming.
Yeah, cinema
was
really
a big money industry where that creates possibilities to make original movies. While now it's more,
and it's as if, like, okay, for us in our case, it's like, okay, we're gonna do, if we're gonna do something like that original, we're just gonna do it in Belgium because it's smaller budget, it's subsidized by Belgium, it's an artistic project, so it's safer to do it there than to go to Hollywood and make a big artistic project and then nobody will maybe see it. So that's the tricky situation we're in now.
I mean, I think the problem for me is someone like Disney, like kind of sandwiching everything between them, where they've got Marvel on one side, Star Wars on the other, and whether it's movies, whether it's like endless TV shows, they are producing so much stuff that it's just kind of overwhelming everything else. And from a movie point of view, it kind of works. Like they make money off it for sure. Particularly with the Marvel movies, and so there's no real incentive for them to stop doing it, I suppose. But it reaches that point for me, and perhaps for other people as well, where I just feel like, okay, I'm kind of tapped out with superhero films for now. I need other stuff, and that's why when things like The Northman came along, when I know I'm saying this to 2 guys who are directing a superhero movie, so I appreciate the irony of this.
Yeah, but we direct different stuff, so we understand.
I mean, that being said, though, like I watched Joker, I thought it was fantastic. I watched The Batman, I thought it was a really good movie. So they can still do it. They can still produce good films that are like that. But generally speaking, like that MCU mold of just lots and lots of superhero flicks. They've all got a consistent tone, style, whatever. It got to the point for me where after like 10, 15 years of it, I just think, okay, I need enough. I need other stuff.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm always on the lookout for these other films that are not that are just something else.
Yeah. It's a great opportunity at the same time. It's just people are going to have to go to the movie theater to keep it as an opportunity, so that you can have this. You have the norm now. This is the Fast and Furious, and it's the superhero movies. That's just what the norm is. And then you gotta try to do something different to just okay, we're the freshness and use that aspect to attract, but then obviously you got like the big name directors, like a Tarantino is always gonna work because it's a Tarantino movie, so you want to go and see that, so but we can only hope, God willing, that we can get to that level where people are gonna watch an A and B movie because there's a certain expectation to that on the same level they want to watch a Nolan movie, but we're not there yet. We're working.
Yeah, but you'd bring that kind of interest in visual style to what you do. That I noticed I saw it in Bad Boys, I saw it in Rebel, which I know people haven't seen yet, but like it's definitely got that. And there was elements of it in Ms. Marvel as well. When I think they let you work, when they actually let you do your thing. And so it's gonna work well if you can harness it and get it into other movies. Like I think it should do really well for you guys. And it's so interesting as well to talk to people who are co-directors, because it's such a rare thing. Like you generally look at a director as being like, well, it has to be one guy who's got his vision of what he wants to do. And so to see 2 of you, it's like, how do you work around that? Like there must be times when you disagree about what you want to do, what sort of shot you want or whatever.
Well, I think we only disagree when we convince each other too much. Yeah. I got idea A, he's got idea B. We talk to each other, and I said, you know what, you were right.
Actually, your idea is better.
Yeah, so that's that's where the disagreement happens. But I think on set it's very organic.
Yeah, it's not on set. Is really not thinking. It really depends from day to day.
Yeah, it's at the stand of the planets in the sky. It's sometimes sometimes I'm good with a certain vibe with a certain actor, or don't vibe with a certain actor. So Bilal will talk to that actor or actress, and sometimes I'm more bad cop, he's more good cop. So
it helps a lot.
Try to rotate.
And also, we want to do a lot, so sometimes we have like splits with our Belgian movies because it's a slow budget, so
so
we can
for Rebel and people that hopefully will see it. So it's like with those, we had a small the budget was $8 million, something like that, and we had to split literally. So I was with one crew and one set of actors, Bilal was with another crew, other set of actors. But on the Hollywood set, sometimes Bilal will be with two cameras, I will be with the actors, and then it switches, and then I'm with another set of cameras, and then we're with the second unit people, and then it's total chaos, but it's fun chaos.
I think the biggest difference is in pre-production or script. I think Adil is more really on the script.
I'll try to develop the new thing,
developing projects, and I'm more on finishing or the post-production,
the editing and all of that. So that's more the thing. But it's very organic, very organic, bro. And when we're both not sure of something, at least we can talk to each other and like, okay, something's not right. Or when we're sure, then both of us, then we are 100% sure. And that's always useful to have that kind of check and balance and collaborative aspect. And sometimes maybe a director, when he or she is alone, it can be very overwhelming. And at least here in the craziness, we can always talk like, this is some crazy shit, right, bro?
Man, I was just thinking, like, I have fallen out with good friends playing Call of Duty. So, like, trying to work with them on $100 million movie, like, there'd be dead people at the end of the day. There'd be fatalities.
Real Scottish.
It's like, there's a reason Scottish people wear knives in their socks when they go to weddings, the ski and do. Like, we're just geared for a fight at any time. Like,
Last day of shoot, I wore kilts. I felt the most manly man version of myself.
Real men wear skirts.
Coming on set, I was like, I think there's a Scott person in me. Actually.
Yeah, and we're thinking like we're Moroccans, we're like very Mediterranean, very tough, very harsh. But then we went to Scotland. He's like, we're now.
For the people in chat, like Batgirl was shot almost exclusively in Glasgow, because I think you know yourselves, like you were trying to find the most wretched hive of scum and villainy to set it for standing in for Gotham City, and the only place that would do was Glasgow, naturally.
Well, big love to Glasgow, Glaswegian for life. But we're looking for a city that would double for Gotham, and London was packed with so many productions, and New York was too expensive. And then somebody at Warner Bros. Said, well, let's take a look at Glasgow. And then we went on set visit, and that's the seedy, dirty, grungy Gotham. We got it
right. That's Glasgow,
there.
All right.
The whole city is one big set.
Yeah,
like a whole building.
Everywhere you put the camera, it was actually one of the comics of Batgirl. There's a building. That was a base of design of I think it was Beresford building on Sauchiehall Street.
Sauchiehall Street,
in Glasgow. So, but it was very inspiring. It's a raw city, but very inspiring.
Yeah, well, it's got this weird American look to it, hasn't it?
Sorry, what?
It's got this weirdly American look to it. Like it's all unlike every other city in the UK. It's all set out in blocks, like New York or whatever. The buildings are very like square and like red brick kind of thing. So it's.
They say that actually the blueprint of New York was based on Glasgow as they were building it.
Why would you do that to yourselves?
Well, back then it was the blueprint. It was the base. Yeah. But that's why like they shot Indiana Jones also in Glasgow because they wanted to double it for New York in the 1950s. So that's why there's a resemblance if you want to make.
Shot the Batman also partly.
They shot Cloud Atlas, San Francisco. They shot it also in Glasgow. So Glasgow.
Sometimes I was just doing like a Zoom call or WhatsApping on my phone, and people were, "Hey, you in New York?" No, I mean just Glasgow.
Yeah.
I thought I was in New York.
1 hour flight from Brussels.
Yeah. I know that's while we've been chatting here, like people have sent in questions on like super chats and stuff,
Yeah.
and I don't know if you guys have got a little bit of time just to
sure.
answer a few,
Go for
maybe.
it. Go for it, bro.
All right, just give me 1 second just to bring up the list here because it usually takes just a few seconds to update. All right, here we go.
All right.
So, okay. The first one here was the Outcast Creative, who said, "Gangsta, the 2018 movie, is a great movie. Would love to hear more about directing Snowfall and what happened with Beverly Hills Cop. You guys are a talented duo."
Yeah. All right. So Gangster. Well, it's a movie based on true stories. So based on some real shit about the drug cocaine trade in Antwerp and also the Netherlands. Antwerp is the capital of cocaine use. Cocaine use and cocaine transportation in Europe.
I can neither confirm nor deny that.
But it's the truth. It's the truth, man. It's tons and tons and tons.
A lot of going through that port of Antwerp.
Yeah, the port is that's the place. It's the Wall Street of cocaine of Europe. That's
so and it's based on a true story of guys that stole cocaine from the Colombian mafia.
Yeah,
and really
for Moroccans that did that, and then it triggered a whole gang war that's still going on today. So we're gonna make
4 years later, it's still going on.
So we will make the sequel one day. So yeah, gangsta.
Nice.
And Snowfall. Well, Snowfall was our very first job. So it was John Singleton, may he rest in peace, who chose us based on Black to make his TV show, which was a sort of TV version of Boys in the Hood, which obviously was also a big inspiration for us for Black. So it was like full circle. And it was our first pilot. It was also with Rob, our DP. It was our first American project. It was really weird to shoot something with actors talking in American. It was like, it's real.
Like surreal, yeah. And it was in LA, so
in South Central,
and we saw like all the locations of LA, and we did the casting, the whole show, the look of the style, that was our job. So
shooting in the hood and making it a historical 1983, the crack cocaine epidemic, and now I think they're gonna do season 6. So they're going strong.
we really fought for that shot, the drone shot that goes
the palm trees,
all the way up to the palm trees.
There was a drone shot that would start close to the actors and then it will pull back, and apparently nobody really had done that before out of I think safety, but we said no, we're gonna do it, and then that became like the shot they used in all the trailers. So proud of that.
Hey, that worked out pretty good then, I would say.
Yeah.
Cody Griffin asks, he says actually, it's easy to criticize directors and writers, but sometimes we need to remember that they are people too. Well, yeah, I think we realize that. We don't know how much the studio puts pressure on them or how many times they are having to work within lots of different constraints. Which I imagine is very true for you guys and for everyone else. Excuse me.
Yeah, sure. I mean, you're gonna come. It's like we said. It's like pick your battles. You got ideas. You got 20 ideas, but you're not gonna be able to have all 20 of them. So you're gonna have to decide which one is very, very important and which one you're willing to fall on the sword for and all that. And then your ideas have consequences that in Belgium it costs maybe $100. In America it's gonna cost $1 million for that particular idea.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have to convince 20 people, and as if you're a lawyer, and that obviously takes a lot of energy and lots of effort.
A lot of meetings.
Yeah, a lot of meetings. It's half of the time we have the feeling half of the time of making projects in Hollywood is meetings, while in Belgium it's 100% just trying to make it happen. And
it would drive me nuts, man. It really would. Like it's hard enough for me as a writer, like working with editors and stuff, but then to have to get a whole studio to buy into what I'm doing, and then having to get like dozens of other people who work with me and beneath me and stuff to also buy into it, it would drive me nuts.
Yeah, it's
a mental challenge sometimes.
It's really a mental challenge. Yeah,
but the thing is, you just have if you have a studio that has so much money, it's their money, it's not your money, so
Yeah,
you have to kind of listen to them too.
And it choose you. It's not the same as in Belgium where it's we write it, we come up with our own thing. It's like hey, you, do you want to do that? Yes. and then he's like, yeah, okay, one for you, one for me. That's a bit out.
Yeah, it's really the trick is pick your battles.
Yeah,
that's really fight your best ideas.
Liberty Prime says, so why did they change Ms. Marvel's powers in the TV show? Because I think in the comic books, like, they're a bit different. Like, she makes her hands go giant and stuff.
Well, so when we came on the project, I mean, we had discovered the comic book, and we thought, oh, cool. I mean, like, everybody, like, hey, imagining how we would translate those powers in real life. But from the moment we got the script and they were pitching us how the show is gonna be, the powers was already changed. That was just right from the start. That was what it's gonna be. It was written hard light. That's it.
Yeah.
I think that the main reason we believe it's connected to the bigger picture of the MCU, whatever that means. So we were tasked to do that, and obviously we loved. I mean, we thought some of the powers in beginning of the hand and all that were pretty cool. So what we try to do, us as directors, also with our VFX supervisors and DPs, to try to translate that power in something that sort of still resembles or has an homage. So that's why there is a form of it in big in hand with that kind of light, and as you will see, the powers are evolving throughout the show. But that's, I think that maybe, there's in the multiverse, something's possible. Everything's possible. Maybe there's Kamala Khan with exactly the same powers, because in Spider-Man No Way Home, you have Peter Parker, Tobey Maguire who does this, and then everybody's like, so everything's possible on that front. But that's how it happened when we came onto the project.
That's fair enough. And I think trying to represent that visually would have been really difficult if it's like, her hands just literally turn into giant hands that she can punch things with. Like, I think you would really struggle to show that on screen and not have it look really stupid. So
to do it well,
exactly.
To do it well, it's one of the most difficult CGI things ever. So if at some point they would do that in the future, or with Reed Richards, that's gonna have to be a very elaborate way of VFX, because that stretchy powers and all that it's really hard. Lights and all that, something that's not organic, it's always a little bit easier to do in VFX.
Rabid One says, I would like you to review the practical effects in John Woo's Hard Boiled. There's a ton of lore about the movie. The main action sequences were shot before the script, so that was one of the movies I referenced in my video about CGI and stuff. And a lot of the shootouts in Hard Boiled are fantastic, but the hospital shootout in particular is just incredible. It's that long continuous shot. Just a great example of, Squib's practical effects, pyrotechnics and stuff, and just the amount of work they must have had to put into that must have been insane.
Unbelievable. I think it's also, in that time period, that sequence obviously is one of the most classic. Everybody wants to recreate it, but I don't even think it would be possible today. They had also no other options. You could not do VFX squibs back then, so it had to be real. And they're so good in stunts and so good in all the effects and all that. And those movies are always what we show as a base, because it's so juicy. There's so much debris flying in the air, so much flash and steel, and that's what we did also in our war movie in Rebel, and tried to do also in Batgirl, Batgirl. Our attempt is to do everything as practical as possible. So we hope that that eventually when the movie comes out, people will be able to recognize the amounts of practical effect with it there.
No, I think that's one of the things that a lot of people hope for, is just like less CGI, more practical, more stunt work.
Yes.
RRTNZ says, "Hail drinker and directors." Excuse me, I've lost the ability to talk. I don't get the dislike for Miss Marvel. It's honest about what it is and who it's for. But would you agree that its audience is somewhat niche? P.S. Drinker, do a review of Roadhouse. Cheers. Okay. I will do Roadhouse for sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for us, the fact that it happened, I mean, growing up as Muslims in Belgium, and my wife's Muslim, my sister,
My mother, my aunties, my cousins,
all the Muslim women in our lives never believed that one day that would be even possible, remotely possible, that you would have a show, even a Marvel show, an American show with Muslims, female Muslims as a superhero. That was not a possibility, and to have somebody or something or a show that reflect them, is an homage to them. I think that the fact that it exists, that actually people, there are people watching, you can say, okay, some people may say it's not the most successful show in the world, but it's still for us, we are happy with the fact that it happened and that people are watching, and so many young people are recognizing themselves in it and enjoy it. That's already a success, I would say,
Yeah.
But yeah,
from our perspective, it's a big audience. It's not.
From our perspective, it's like, okay, the fact that it was made, that people are watching it, and that there's a future with that character. For us, that's what our mission was. That was what our job was, and we're happy to it. And maybe in the future, another show like that would have you be even more successful. But you got to start somewhere, I would say.
Mm-hmm. No, that very much makes sense. John Rice says, good job, Drinker, Adil and Bilall, for being willing to be bridge builders. I agree with that. It's
thanks.
Yeah, I think it would be great to see more of this. Other actors, directors, not necessarily with me, but with other people within this sort of space, just willing to have conversations and give more of an insight into why things get done the way they do, and just being willing to sort of take feedback on board. I think it's great, and just have that dialogue, I guess.
Because we as filmmakers, we consume YouTube, we watch YouTubers. That's our TV. That's just, for us, that's normal. Basically, it's we look at your videos, other people's videos, and all that, and that's I think we
extremely inspirational for us, and there's so much we learn from it. Also, it's like most important thing for us.
Yeah, and it's also important to just have a discussion. Not only it doesn't gonna help anybody if it's always like you're doing whatever you do is awesome, great, it's fantastic. You gotta listen to everybody and gather the opinions of as much people as possible, and then you can form your own thing. Then you can be really sure of what you really want to do as a filmmaker.
Here's a suggestion. I'd love to see the Drinker and Brie Larson interview. I don't think that's going to happen.
Me too. I love to see that.
Yeah, you gotta try.
Yeah. What's the next one? Poody Evans says, "Have you seen the BTS videos from the Crank movies?" So I guess that's behind the scenes. Really impressive with what the directors did from a practical effects aspect with stunts. Yes, I haven't seen those behind the scenes videos actually. I remember Crank being a bit of a mix of CGI and practical.
Yeah,
from what I recall. They were absolutely batshit crazy. It was great.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was. Crank is our DP loves also watching all these movies and watches a lot of behind the scenes, and that's how he comes up with the ideas of rigs and all that. But that's that movie was very, very energetic, and it's good to watch that and try to apply the craziness in some elements or some scenes in a more calm movie or TV show.
Yeah. Man, I just always love that scene in Crank 2 when they turn into like giant monsters and they're like fighting through. So ridiculous.
Well, one day we would like to make a movie like that and unleash
the beast.
Yeah. Just say fuck it, just do whatever we want. It'd be great.
One day we'll do it.
Avery Thomas says, right, so chat keeps saying they won't disrespect their employers and should go after the studios. These employers are enabling the studio to release these message films and taking our money while doing it. So, yeah, I'm just trying to understand what they're saying here. I guess what they're just saying is like the studios are the ones who ultimately decide, if they want to push the message or whatever into their TV shows, their movies or whatever. And when it comes to directors and writers and stuff, a lot of the time maybe like people lower down are a bit shut out of that. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't work in the industry, so I can't say how it's structured.
Yeah, it's for us it's very abstract because it's not as if, I mean, when we are on the set, well, in our case of Ms. Marvel, nobody was there. We were just shooting and you're maneuvering, you're trying just to make your thing work. So it's not as if you're connected to the bigger thing. And usually, well, we have so many projects at the same time that we made that show, and they were shooting the other episodes while we were already shooting Rebel or prepping Batgirl.
Yep. Black Sun says, any thoughts on trying streams on different times? So I guess it's for me. Yeah, I mean, I can do them pretty much any time, but like this is generally the most convenient because, yeah, I could start at like midnight and it would be a bit better for the American audience. But then, I don't really want to be streaming at like 3 or 4 a.m. Like I do have to sleep at some point. So this is like the best I can do, I guess. Joseph Fazio says, you need to use fear with Batgirl. Make Gotham as afraid of her as they are with Batman. No posies, no girl power stuff. Make her uncompromising, no overconfidence, a wrecking machine, but believable. So there you go. That's a critique for Batgirl. That's what they want to see.
Well, we'll see. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what we do in Batgirl 2 then.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess like I'm assuming a lot of this is like an origin story for her, like how she learns to become Batgirl rather than she's already out there fighting crime and stuff.
Yeah, that's from what we're allowed to say. That's really the starting point. So that's that is exactly that.
Yeah. But yeah, like I very much agree with that idea of fear. Like Batman is supposed to be a terrifying, intimidating character for criminals, and I guess that's what you would want to see from Batgirl as well.
Yeah, well, I think that obviously now we're in the middle of that movie, which hopefully will be just the first in a series. But as we were making Batgirl, we were like, it's a very focused story also. But we were thinking, okay, where could the character evolve? What could be the next step? Because obviously, as an origin story, there's still like a learning aspect to it. But I think that fear, and a very psychological aspect of Gotham and the effect that it has towards Batgirl. That is, that is what we want to do in the future. If you get the opportunity, if this is hopefully, inshallah, a success, that we can go further. And the animated series, the effect that I had when I was a kid watching the animated series or the Tim Burton movies, it was scary. There was this darkness, this scary element. So I think that everything that is like this scary and the fear feeling and the horror aspect, that's something that we want to hopefully be able to explore if we get the opportunity to go further with that character.
Here's one. This isn't a super chat. It's saying, Drinker asked them if they've seen your video, Miss Marvel, how not to build a hero.
Sure.
I think you have, actually.
Of course we saw it. Obviously didn't agree with everything, but it was interesting. I mean, for us, seeing you make a video about that was almost something flattering. It's like, yes, we made it to the channel. But I mean, it's interesting to see your take on it, and I mean, we could only hope that some of the things that you would see the show will prove you wrong. But
that's the thing, because what I was doing with that video was reacting to the trailer, and so sometimes the trailer doesn't tell you everything you need to know, or maybe you don't always interpret it the way they wanted you to, and so I'm drawing conclusions from that, but that's not what you get from the show necessarily.
Yeah, exactly. But it will be interesting to see, after. I mean, I'm sure that if you watch the whole show, some things in your view will be confirmed by what you did in that video. Some other things might surprise you. But yeah, no, of course we've seen it. We watch we watch YouTube. We watch YouTube. We know.
It's always weird when people like in the industry tell you that they watch your stuff or they even know who you are, because like I've said before, like there's always this assumption that you're kind of working in a vacuum almost, that people like me who make these YouTube videos critiquing stuff, we're in this world, directors and actors and stuff, they're in another world, and there's no real crossover. They're not really aware of what we do. So whenever you find out, sometimes people do watch your stuff or they do know about you.
Yeah.
It's a weird experience. But in a lot of ways, that some of this stuff gets through, I suppose.
But yeah, I mean, we watched the Batman video that you did on set with our DP John Matheson, who did Gladiator and Kingdom of Heaven and Doctor Strange too. And as we were watching the video, his A camera, who's the A camera of Roger Deakins, who did 1917, he comes and he said, "Is that the drinker?" so yeah, no, people that they people know.
No, that's good. It's always good to know. What's the next one? Finbar White, who said, "Hey Drinker, every time when I watch movies, I just look for a film that's a simple story told and acted well, which makes you get immersed into that world." Yeah, I mean that's usually enough to make me happy. I don't always need it to be some like earth-shattering, thing that makes me rethink my life. Just sometimes it's nice to just watch a good, solid film that's well done. So it depends on the film. Depends what they were trying to do with it, I suppose.
Exactly.
And I think that's like the rule for us is like, make the story clear and have good acting and be efficient in the storytelling. Those are things that is basic rules of just having a good movie.
Yeah, just go with the flow, go in the ride, and have a satisfying movie.
Yep. RK Outpost, Ryan Cannell said, "We need more creators who embrace different opinions and fan feedback. Thanks for doing this, guys."
Oh yeah, well,
thank you for appreciating.
Yeah, thanks Ryan Cannell for pronouncing my name right, because that was a big. Usually it doesn't happen that our names are pronounced well, but so I think it's important, like we said, it's important to gather all different opinions and that we don't necessarily agree with, but fandom is diverse, diverse in all kind of origins, opinions, political views. I think that the fact that Top Gun is so successful, I think just everybody wants to see it. Everybody. That's the power of cinema. It brings people together, and I think that that's what our naive goal might be. That if you make good movies that brings everybody together, then we help save the world on our own way. Hopefully.
Yeah. Saving it one movie at a time. There you go.
Yeah.
Mr. Wise Guy said, "You guys made the best Bad Boys movie. Hats off to you."
It's big compliment. It's a big compliment. Too much honor, because the Michael Bay is Michael Bay. That's the Bayham. When we watch what he does, it's always like, all right, we're never gonna be able to go on that level, so we gotta just do our own style. But thank you very much.
Thinneran says, "How did you make Vanessa Hudgens, of all people, so badass in Bad Boys 3? What was that her idea?"
Yeah. So Vanessa Hudgens likes action movies. Her taste in movies are pretty hard, dark European movies, and she just she would love to be an action hero, actually.
Yeah, she did her own stunts. She did it herself. She was always like,
whenever I can
super sharp.
Yeah, so obviously, if we get the chance to make a second movie or any other movie with her, she really wants to do more action, and that's in her blood. Actually, we're very surprised by that.
I mean, I'm not going to lie, guys. You had some pretty good female cast on that movie, like Paula Nunez. Yeah, man, she was hot. Even what was her name? The actress, the antagonist. Yeah, Kate.
Yeah, they were all.
Man, she was beautiful.
They were all great. They were cool. They just. I mean, it was the script. Obviously, wrote this character that way, but it was. And Jerry Bruckheimer, obviously, he knows how to shoot this movie that way. So yeah, thank you.
Next one is MG, who said, "What's the budget for movies like Patser? Do they also know how much dollars they make globally? Miss Marvel Episode 1 had great direction, by the way. Love from Belgium."
All right. Thank you. So Patser in euros.
That was like, well, how much?
3.4 million euros, which around 4 million. I know, $3.7 million in the dollars of today. So yeah, it's for Belgium, it's an okay budget. Obviously, in the world, it's nothing. But yeah, the movie makes the money back, and then the money goes to the Belgian government that keeps the money for the next project. That's how
Yeah.
that's how it works. You don't become rich by Belgian movies. It's just for your next project that they keep it. So.
Pooty Evans says, "Can we get Batgirl confirmed in the Schumacher verse?"
Well, there is already a Batgirl in the
Yeah.
Schumacher verse, so it's two separate Batgirls.
That's true. Yeah.
yeah,
It was
yeah.
Alicia. Was it Alicia Silverstone? Back in the
that's
day?
right.
It was the first,
The
live
first-
action.
Yeah, and we even have some Joel Schumacher homages, because
Oh my God.
we must
Oh,
not
yeah,
forget.
also Batgirl from the 60s.
Yeah, but no,
Yeah.
I mean, the Schumacher homages will be here and there, some neons in the background, some funky Dutch
Funky
angles. So
Oh yeah.
on that level, visually.
Those movies were something special. They really were.
They were something memorable, that's for sure.
Yeah. Finbar White says, "What do you guys think of the new rules at ceremonies?" I assume he means Oscar ceremonies.
In specifically, you cannot have like there's no technical, which is a bad word, but does he mean that, or?
I don't know. Maybe it's like no slapping each other or something.
Oh yeah,
I don't know.
I would say that was always a rule. So
Yeah.
So I don't know what the new rules are, but hopefully we can get there one day with a movie. That's and then I'll see. We'll see what our
That's the
opinion.
dream.
That's a dream. Yeah.
There was another one here. So, oh man, there was one about having access to any property that you could like remake or whatever. I'll see if I can find it. I'll probably work my way back to it. Yes. So yeah. Waleed Haji says, "Would you guys sign with Netflix for a new project and go wild? And also, what will you do if Batgirl doesn't do well? Would you take it on the chin and move on, or try and do something else?"
Well, I mean, in the case of Netflix, I actually did a Netflix show.
Yeah.
It's called Soil.
It's a Belgian show.
Belgian show with Moroccans, so you can watch it. If you're a Marvel or DC fans, it's the same, only with Moroccans and no superpowers. But
A lot of fun.
yeah, 6 feet under, but with a Muslim family, you would say. So we had done this. But obviously, if Netflix wants to work with us and go loco on something, some
We
kind
ain't
of
gonna say no.
something IP that we would do ourselves, that would be super cool. And if Batgirl doesn't work, and hopefully, inshallah, it will be successful. But there's always a possibility in every movie, and we just are thankful for the opportunity to be part of that, to
Yes.
be able to make the movie to.
But I think I'm also gonna pack my bags and go back to Belgium because
Then we only make movies in Belgium. So.
yeah, because we're not anymore in Hollywood.
Yeah, I think it's game over. So sorry.
It has to.
So
Support us.
Yeah, support us.
Yeah.
We'll make another DC movie or Marvel thing. So and otherwise, that's that. So yeah, it's life.
The next one is from Brad Magyar. He says, "Take a shot, drink. I'm all out.
Don't be jerking.
This was filled up with whiskey, and I finished it. So,
But we don't drink, so you're gonna have to drink for us.
yeah, this is. I'm drinking for 3 men tonight." The next one is from Bo Helen, who says, "Do ESG ratings come up when making shows for the MCU? Moon's video on Netflix's dwindling subscriber count explains the concept if you're curious." Yeah, that's the ESG is like something that they do for businesses, I think, about like their environmental, social, something else. It's like a score basically on how I don't know, responsible a company is, I suppose. I don't know if they apply it to movies, but
no, I don't think I don't recall. I recall a project that we did. It was either Bad Boys or where we did a carbon neutral project. But I think it was Bad Boys maybe or Snowfall. But I don't recall it happening on. I mean, we were not aware of it. Maybe it's been done, but we didn't know about it.
Eric Parker asks, "Who is the one actor or actress that you would love to direct and why?"
So actor, there are two, in my opinion. It's Tom Hanks and Denzel Washington.
Yeah. Denzel.
choices.
Denzel. And actress Kate Winslet. I really love that actress. So.
Nice. Finbar White says, "Drinker, good stream. Rest your voice. My friend, keep smiling." Thank you. I'm done when I say I'm done. Jack Tease says, "A question for the directors. Do you have any say in casting choices, or is it something that you're given and then you just have to adapt around whoever you've been given to act with?"
No,
there's always a collaboration.
No, we're part of the casting, so
yeah,
it's with the studio and the producers and our opinion, and then we make a selection, and eventually we find where we all agree that's the actress.
Yeah. You narrow it down. Sometimes like 150 people, so it's sometimes difficult.
Yeah.
But eventually, when it narrows it down to a level, it's more a collaborative thing, and we discuss. Yeah.
So, did you guys sort of have a say in the casting for Batgirl?
Yeah. So eventually, I mean, we saw so many people, and it was a very, very different profiles. It was the most different profile casting we ever we had from 18 till above 40, 45. That was like the age, and then every single ethnicity and background and all of that. And eventually, for the script, for the story, and the concept of the character, we decided together with the studio that Leslie Grace had like the best Barbara Gordon that was on the page. So that eventually was we all, she was already in the 150 candidates already. Clearly one of the best, and eventually she confirmed that in the last round.
No, that's cool. I mean, I think particularly when you've got an actress who's a different ethnicity from the comic book character, like people naturally they want to know well, was the intention always to race swap them or whatever, or does it just come about well, she just happened to be the best person that we cast or that we saw in the casting process?
It was because it was so the casting was so different. I mean, there were people that physically looked perfectly like the comic, but none of them was really playing. I mean, visually they were perfect, but they were not necessarily the personality or because that to have difference, you need to be able to fight, but also to be smart, also to be funny, to be fun and kind and all these elements. And she was just right away.
She was just the best actress.
Yeah, that came out of it, And it's you could also reverse that in the other ways. Like, okay, if she's like the best actress, the fact that she doesn't look ethnically exactly the same as the comic, should you then dismiss her because of that? That's also a question that you can ask yourself. So that was
it's something that I wrestle with a lot, because when they bring up something like, well, we're going to cast a new James Bond, for example, could we have someone like Idris Elba play him? Could we have, a woman play the character now? It's completely changed. When it's things like that, generally I come down on the side of, well, I'd rather keep it consistent with the books or whatever. And something like James Bond has always been cast a certain ways, or he's described very specifically as a man in his late 30s with dark hair and sort of blue eyes and stuff. That's just the way he's meant to be, I guess, in that sense. So I would generally prefer to cast actors who look like that. I know with comic books there's a bit more flexibility because you're operating in different universes where the movies or the TV adaptations are not a like for like transfer of the characters. It's just another interpretation of them. I don't know if sometimes you get more flexibility that way. I mean, we've all got Samuel L. Jackson playing Nick Fury. Nick Fury was a white guy, I think, with red hair in the comic books originally, but we don't mind because it's Samuel L. Jackson. If he wants to play a role, that guy could play whatever he wants to do. It's fair enough. I think it's good to know that it wasn't just a decision of we want to have a different race or a different ethnicity for this character in this movie. It was more just a case of you cast lots of different people. Ultimately, she was the best one that you found, and she was the most appropriate for the role. In which case, I guess fair enough. That's
and I think and it just I would say pressure is even more on that we all need to deliver even more, So, yeah.
There's just a couple more actually, and then I think we're pretty much finished with the chats. Aiken says, so have you found your directors for your Ryan Drake movie now during current? Yeah, if you guys are at loose ends, like I need a director for my book.
Well, we love we gotta start reading your books, man.
Bro.
We've heard a lot of things about it, so
very curious.
Yeah, who knows?
There you go.
If you're available, you're willing to do it with us.
Naturally.
That'd be cool.
And the last one is from Waleed Haji. Says, what do you guys think of the filter that Hollywood uses when they show Middle Eastern countries? So is that like a visual filter?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I understand the criticism that if you go to Middle East or Mexico, it's super orange, or if you go to Russia, it's super blue. But yes, sometimes you need the filter. Sometimes cinematographers just like that, really stylized aspect. And a movie Rebel, which takes place, in movies in Syria, and we shot it in Jordan, we try to get away from that filter. But it's still gonna be desert. It's still gonna be
have that
brown. It's still, even if you don't do that filter, that's still what comes out of it, But it's good that they don't go standardly overboard with that too much, So yeah.
It's funny how your brain's now hardwired to expect things like that. You see it on screen. It's like, well, okay, if it's in somewhere like the Middle East, everything's got to be orange. Like it's constantly at sunset or whatever.
Yeah. And Eastern European is gotta be really blue and cold and gray.
Yeah. I remember watching the original Top Gun, and I thought that's what California was like. Everything was constantly like orange and like totally vibrant, like that kind of like dusky magic hour. Yes,
with that little bar on top of the screen, like that little brownish bar.
Yeah, and it's like, there's me living in Scotland, and it's like everything's like brown and grey. Like, you know what Scotland's like,
Of course.
Been there.
Now.
But yeah, it's the magic of cinema. I suppose it's all just like weaving a spell. I suppose
that's right. Exactly.
But yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty much the end of the super chats there for you guys. And I know like you had about 2 hours available for this, so I think we've managed to just like actually finish slightly ahead of schedule.
All right. Yeah, awesome. But, we hope that we did well. It was not too boring for everybody.
No, I mean, honestly, like I think people are really interested to know, I guess, the process that goes on to making these things, these TV shows, these movies and stuff, and how ideas develop, all the kind of like negotiation that has to go on behind the scenes to get these things done, and the kind of pressures that are pulling you in different directions. And I think it's really useful for people to get that insight into what has to be done from a director's point of view, or writer's point of view, or an actor's point of view. Because it's easy for people like me to sit here and say, well, this is shit and that's shit or whatever, as if everyone's got utter control over like the movie that they're making. And sometimes it's good to get a little bit of perspective. So.
But it's same for us. I mean, as we started with films, we were also the same, man. Like also saying, "Oh, this is shit and this sucks." And if it was me, I would be way better. And then you were there, and it's like, oh, it's another ball game now. Once you're the one who needs to do it, it's very humbling, and you start to really get a lot of respect for just everybody that is in that business and actually succeeds in making a good movie, because it's very difficult and the bar is high, and we keep on learning. That's what we do.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's great to see you guys progress, and like I hope that you find more and more success as you go on with your movies, and I hope it really works out for you guys. I'll be interested to see where it goes from here, and I will stay in touch with you for sure.
All right, thank you,
everybody.
Thank you
very much, guys. I will take you out of the live stream now, and I'll go on with a couple of other super chats that I had left over from my last stream, because I am way behind with them.
Okay, good luck, man.
All right, thanks very much, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, peace and love.
Peace.